All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to our Williamsport City Council meeting. It's Thursday, May 12th, 2022, 7 p.m. We're in Trade and Transit 2. Please rise for the invocation by Councilman Meyer, followed by the flag salute and the roll call.
Lord, as we gather here tonight to welcome new members of the Williamsport City Fire Department, we ask for their protection and your guidance as we welcome them into the city family. We ask for your guidance as well as we go with, while so many in this world go without. Thank you, and please pray in your name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Allison.
Here.
Mr. Mackey.
Here.
Mr. Pelisi.
Here.
Mr. Byer.
Here.
Mrs. Katz is absent, and Ms. Bailey is absent, and Mr. Yoder.
Here, we have a quorum of 5. Item 3, approval of City Council meeting minutes dated April 28th, 2022. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Here you see none. Mrs. Franklin, approve of the meeting minutes, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Byer.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Item 4, limited courtesy of the floor. We've had no requests tonight. Item 5, we have with us Ms. Cecilia Frank. She's a 2021 Williamsport High School graduate, and she is the recipient of the PA Municipal League Essay Award contest. She's the winner, so I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Slaughter. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, President Yoder, Council Administration. Yes, we are privileged tonight to have a 2021 graduate of Williamsport Area High School and just finished up her freshman year at the University of Pittsburgh, Ms. Cecilia Fink. She was a civic engagement essay winner, which was put on by the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Last year, it was delayed slightly due to COVID protocols. And I just want to read a little bit about the essay contest and then a quote from the Municipal League Executive Director at the time, Rick Shetler. He since has retired. But it says the second place winner was Cecilia Fink, and she will receive a $1,000 scholarship. It was the 38th year that the Pennsylvania Municipal League was awarded these scholarships, and the award monies are deposited at the financial aid office of each awardee's selected institution of higher education. The scholarships are made possible through the Pennsylvania Municipal League and the generous contribution of Yvonne Garner in memory of her husband, John A. Garner Jr., who was the League Executive Director Emeritus. And quote from Mr. Shetler, our 2021 John A. Garner Jr. Civic Engagement Essay Scholarship Contest winner, Madison Passmore, Cecilia Fink, and Elizabeth Girl are to be commended for their exceptional essays. I truly hope these bright young adults will consider futures which include service and local government, end quote. The contest participants were asked to elaborate on the appropriate theme, and last year's theme was Civics and You, by writing about opportunities in their community that allow for civic engagement and encourage citizens to volunteer to help with local challenges. And of course, as noted, Ms. Fink was awarded the second place. She's been very active in our community, even beyond the essay. She has put on a 5K run that she does every Thanksgiving, right? And she's done other volunteer opportunities in our community. So we're very fortunate to have a bright young mind such as Ms. Fink in our community. And so I just wanted to officially and formally present her, since it's been delayed, with the plaque, the award from the Pennsylvania Municipal League, and on behalf of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Congratulations.
Well, I got this award because I was acting in the community, And as noted, I'm from the University of Pittsburgh. With the money that they gave me, I'm planning on pursuing my education in action psychology. And after that, I'm planning to do my master's in counseling. So I'd like to do child play therapy and continue giving back to the community with that. So yeah, thank you.
That's excellent. You know, you're an amazing representation of Williamsport in a lot of different ways. And you know, it's a great school. It's not easy to get in there, and the quality of their academia. It speaks to, you know, your abilities and your service that you've already provided to the community, and the fact that you're still involved when you're taking classes and going to school 3 hours away is exemplary in its own right. You know, excited to see what you do and where you end up and the impact that you make in your career. It takes a special person to pursue what you're pursuing, and it's clear that you are that kind of a special person and that you're going to be successful. So you're every time I can say, just keep it up and keep representing us well. It's exciting to see, and I'm very, very thankful. And I'll yield the floor to other members of the council. Mr. Allison.
I'd just like to thank you for being a role model in civic engagement and volunteerism. It's one of the things that make the fabric of the community strong when people are willing to volunteer their time. And there's temptation nowadays to be distracted from that for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And volunteerism isn't as vibrant as it used to be, but very thankful for what you're doing, and that you'll be an example to others that how much you can gain from giving back to the community, and that's what makes it stronger. So thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well said, Mr. Allison. Any other comments from the council, Mr. Pelisi?
Really, pretty much, but obviously reflect the sentiments of both Councilman Yoder and Councilman Allison. But I just want to say congratulations. I'm sure your parents are very proud of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again, and keep up the great work. We'll move on to item 6. We have some firefighter graduates that I know Chief Funson is very excited to introduce to all of us. We have Mr. Ritchie, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Miller. You guys are going to learn. I'm terrible in pronouncing names, so just I'll ask for your forgiveness in advance. So, Mr. Katzmeyer and Mr. Sword. So, Chief Funson, I'll turn it over to you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, President Yoder, members of council. We're here to introduce our 4 newest firefighters. One of them had to finish 5 weeks of EMT training in addition to the 9 weeks that they all had to take in fire training. They successfully completed the Hack Fire Academy, Career Fire Academy. Their physical and mental strengths were challenged when they had to run 1.5 miles in under 12 minutes. And then also complete a dummy drag, which is where they search for, find, and drag a 185-pound dummy through a basement under fire conditions and up 16 steps to the outside. Yeah, so he's got to drag something that's heavier than he is, so it's pretty challenging. They received firefighter 1 and 2 certifications, hazardous materials operations certification, basic vehicle rescue, and EMT national certifications. So tonight I'd like to introduce badge number 256, Rashawn Johnson. Rashawn is originally from Williamsport, but graduated from Hughesville in 2007. He attended Penn College, enlisted in the Navy as a naval air crewman operator, 2nd class, for 6 years. He has worked for the U.S. Postal Service for the past 6 years, and he lives in the city with his 3 children. Firefighter Casey Lowmiller, badge number 257, graduated from South Williamsport Junior High School and Senior High School in 2006. Earned an Associate's of Applied Science in EMS in 2008 from Penn College. For the past 13 years, he has worked for Jersey Shore Area EMS as its director. He and his wife Laura live in South Williamsport and have been married for 12 years. They have 2 sons. Tommy will be 6 next week, and Michael is 2. Firefighter Nathan Katzmeyer, badge number 258, was homeschooled and graduated in 2011. He earned a paramedic certificate from Penn College in 2014. For the past 2 years, he's served as a firefighter paramedic for the city of Goose Creek, South Carolina. He and his wife, Emmy, have been married for 9 years and have 2 sons, Carter and Lincoln. They presently live in Elbert Township. And our last introductee is firefighter Matthew Schwartz, badge number 259. He is a 2013 graduate of Bellefonte Area High School. He graduated from Penn State with a bachelor's in kinesiology in 2017. And he is single and staying with his sister in Georgia. So we'd like to welcome them to the Williamsport family. Thank you.
Well, welcome all 4 of you to our Williamsport Bureau of Fire. We're very fortunate in the city where we've got a great public safety department, and that really encompasses both our police department, but our fire department. What you do professionally is not easy. It's scary at times. I couldn't do it. And so, I commend you for pursuing your passion, number one, but sticking your neck out there to protect others, a lot of people that you don't know. It takes a really special person to do that. And I can see all 4 of you are those special people. We're lucky to have you. We've got a great fire department. You're joining a great team. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do. So I would welcome you, and I turn it over to other members of the council if they have any welcoming remarks to our 4 new firefighters. Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite the resume I'm for you, so congrats. Welcome aboard. I know what it's like to go through an academy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of commitment. So congratulations to all 4 of you. And as Councilor Yoder said, you're joining a great department. Chief Lucas, Chief Monks, they know what they're doing. So you listen to those guys, you'll be fine. But inquiring minds do want to know of the 4 of you who ran the 1.5 the fastest. We don't have names. Congrats. Welcome aboard.
Any other welcoming remarks from other members? Mr. Allison.
Yeah, also welcome you, and Williamsport has a long story, tradition of having paid fire department, and I go way back, but not that far back. But I've known a lot of firefighters along the way, and my previous employment got to see them in action at night, in perilous situations, and money does not compensate for the service that they generally provide men and women, as the case may be. But the gratitude of the city we express on their behalf will go our way towards letting you know how much you appreciate it. So thank you, best wishes, and God protect all of us.
Any other comments or welcoming remarks for other members of council? Seeing none. Again, welcome. Thank you for the service you're going to provide to the city, the great service, and excited to see you in action. So welcome aboard. All right, moving along, we'll move into item 7. We've got a quarterly report from Delta Development, and I will turn it over to Mayor Slaughter to kick this item off.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President Yoder, the council administration. We have Teresa Sparacino here this evening from Delta, and she'll be presenting further report about Delta. We heard from Keller a few weeks ago with all the exciting items they're working on, and Teresa is going to present a lot of the exciting things that are happening with Delta as well that we're looking forward to. So, turn it over to Teresa.
Good evening, Teresa, welcome, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
I am, but I was telling Skip, we still have COVID bouncing around in our building. 2 people out with COVID. I tested negative, although I probably didn't stick it. But anyways, President Yoder, members of council, Mayor Slaughter, thank you for accommodating my rearrangement of your schedule to allow me to present the quarterly report. Does anybody need a copy? No copy? Okay. So we've been working on a state funding strategy for a number of your initiatives within the city. We have the matrix that goes along with my report. In 2021, we submitted a Green Light Go. Well, it was actually January of 2022. Those awards have not been made yet, so we're still waiting for PennDOT to make the Green Light Go awards. C2P2 last year was for Williamsport, that was not funded. We have currently, so the CFA multimodal for 4th Street and Gamble was awarded. That was a $900,000 award that was awarded in the fall of 2021. And John is working on implementing and managing that project. For 2022, we submitted, as you know, because I think I presented for the resolution, submitted an LSA request, and that is a new program. It's a statewide local share, so it's from gaming revenue. And I did hear this morning that gaming revenue is up, so next year they should have additional money. Those are pending, and we anticipate that they will be announced at the July CFA board meeting. We do have a meeting scheduled with Senator Yaw and Representative Whelan towards the end of May. So, yeah, those meetings are meant to keep it in the forefront of Senator Yaw. But we also with Delta will meet with Senate leadership. So we'll both Senate leadership and House leadership to push your project. So we just don't meet with local legislators, we also meet with staff members for Senator Ward's office and Representative Benninghoff because of the Republican legislators. DCNR C2P2, this is pretty exciting. This is it was a 70,000 match, 140,000 program to develop a comprehensive parks, open space, and green infrastructure plan. DCNR was pretty excited about the mayor moving forward with submitting the grant application. The nice thing about having DCNR fund a plan is then they're more apt to fund some of the implementation pieces out of there. So the next step after that plan is developed is to start to target some of those improvements, whether it's park improvements and greenway. And I know some people think that recreation is kind of the fluff and it doesn't really matter. But when families are looking to relocate into your community, your parks, your open space, your recreation, your quality of life is one of the attractiveness factors. You know, there's the schools, they'll look at the schools, but they'll also look at parks and open space. I always say my husband and I lived in State College for 11 years, moved to Harrisburg. And if you know State College, they've got a great trail system. And you can get on a trail, you can bike, you can walk, you can run almost anywhere in that center region area. We moved to Harrisburg. The first time I took my bike out, it was on Creekview Road, very narrow road. My hands were like this the whole time, and I thought, I really miss State College for that reason. So building some of those assets here will help attract new families into the region and business and industry. We are going to be submitting a Greenways Trails and Recreation Program, this time for the Riverwalk. So it's with the GTRP, the maximum grant is $250,000. So I'm working with John Stander, he is the Matthew from Larson Design, working on the cost estimate. This is due at the end of May. It requires a 15% match. And again, when we meet with Senator Young, we'll be bringing this to his attention as well. The Neighborhood Assistance Program, I don't know if you're familiar with this program. It's run through DCD. It's a tax credit program. So businesses that contribute or provide a letter of commitment to contribute to a project can get a tax credit based on their contributions. We're looking at the NPP, which is the more substantial program. It's a 5 to 6 year program. Each business, the minimum contribution would be $50,000. And if you're looking at a 6 year program, if we get 5 businesses to contribute, that could be a substantial amount of investment within the city. Those contributors are typically banks, insurance companies, and other businesses. But with banks, especially if we're looking at neighborhoods where we've got low mod, because it has to benefit low mod households. Banks have their community revitalization commitment. So that's why they're a good partner for this program. So that's what we're going to be working on developing. Again, with the NAP, there's no contribution by the city. It's all by banks and insurance companies and local business. Those are due by the end of May and are usually awarded in September. And then we'll also be looking at submitting a CFA multimodal this year for some traffic signal modifications. And those haven't been identified yet, but we'll be working with the mayor and with staff in order to develop the scope of the project, have the cost estimates, and then provide the resolution to the city for approval. Is there any? Well, I actually got off my matrix. The other thing we're working on are your compliance with Bowman Field. So you've got the original stadium improvements that were done, and then you've got the scoreboard, and the scoreboard is being used as match. So what Delta does is we review the payroll certs, steel certs. We work with a third-party reviewer, which is Stantec in this case, and get everything together for them, make sure it's in compliance. Once we're ready to submit the reimbursement request, your grant agreement has not been issued yet. We've noticed, not really noticed, we've experienced in many projects throughout the state, the Office of the Budget is extremely behind. And I think a lot of that has to do with COVID, they're working remotely. But pre-COVID, things seemed to flow a lot smoother. But again, we're packaging it, we're making sure it's all in compliance, and then waiting for the grant agreement to be issued by the Office of the Budget. The third piece we're working on is a market analysis. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was in the fall of last year, we talked about quantifying the impact of tourism on the city. And for you to be able to use that information to attract new business and industry. Part of what we'll do is looking at the counts, looking at the hotel bed usage, the head in beds usage, and then looking at your revenue. We've got an analyst that works for Delta that used to work for the state, quantifying some impacts of different types of programs. She's the one focused on the market analysis. Her next step will be to develop a survey for the businesses. We'd like to share that with administration, get some input in that. And then once she has some information to share, I'd like to bring her here and have her present to council for any questions that you may have before we kind of finalize that report. The end goal there is to develop some type of handout, some type of brochure that you could use for any potential businesses looking to locate within the city or within your downtown area. Any questions?
Questions or comments from anybody on council regarding the meeting so far? Mr. Meyer?
Looking at the submitted project requests on the CFA multimodal grant, I see that you requested a waiver for the match. Now, is there something specific about multimodal grants that you can request a waiver? Can we do that on other grants as well?
No, it was part of the fiscal code and it's only available to municipalities. And there were a lot of municipalities that couldn't submit a multimodal grant because they didn't have sufficient funds for the match. So the legislature, through the budgeting process, amended the fiscal code to allow municipalities to request a waiver. And it's been in the fiscal code for the past couple of years.
And then is that a guarantee then that we requested?
Mr. Allison?
I have a question on the first part, the neighborhood assistance program. The housing improvements, do they have to be owner occupied?
Not necessarily, no, they have to be low income.
Low income.
Yeah, because the purpose of the program is to benefit low mod income residents.
The renter can qualify.
Yeah, and we've, you know, the piece with the NAP is we won't know the size of the project until we understand the commitment from the business and businesses. So we'll continue to shape that and report back as far as what those funds are going to be used for. The other thing is with the NAP this year, their focus, DCD is focused on COVID-related issues and pandemic-related issues and social justice. They must be getting some of their funding too from federal government. So we were focused, there's 5 criteria. One of the criteria is sustainability for a neighborhood. Your Park Avenue plan talks about sustainability for a neighborhood. Sets out the other criteria for the NPP is that you have to have a plan in place, which you do. So we'd like to focus on that Park Avenue plan, components of that Park Avenue plan, figure out what makes sense and what fits into that bucket of what DCD is looking at as far as sustainability. So it could be blight removal for sustainability. There were a number of priority projects or recommendations on what council should look at as far as implementing that plan.
Have that conversation. Thank you.
Comments or questions so far? The other thing I will circle back to, so that market analysis, that sticks out to me. What did you say the deliverable for that was again, or the end product, I suppose, or there was something you referenced?
A brochure or a handout. There'll be a number of, there'll be the report itself. Because what we'll do is we'll quantify, you know, if this is the dollar amount that tourism brings into the community, what can that support as far as new businesses? And our analysts can do that, where it's 1.8 million in spending revenue. What does that mean as far as size for a retail or a restaurant that could be supported? What's already in the market? What are the gaps in the market, and what you should be targeting? You don't want to target an industry has an oversurplus in revenue. So that's what you'll look at too. You'll have a report of those findings, but also a brochure or a glossy piece that you can meet with business and industry in order to attract them into the city.
I'd be very interested to see the survey that's put together. Be very interested to see the data that comes back on that. Be very interested to see the result of the report put together, everything. I think both council will be as well. And I'll acknowledge the administration here on this one. I mean, I've been pretty critical of Mayor Slaughter and Derek specifically on the need to start doing this kind of stuff. I think we need to be doing a lot more of it and a lot more comprehensively, but this is at least a great start. And so I would tip my hat to the administration, but let's keep this going. And let's see more of this, because this is just one facet of our economy. This doesn't look at manufacturing, this doesn't look at construction. We really should look at, when we're looking at development, outside of the central business district, what makes sense where. We had some good progress going last year, and we got a little sidetracked, unfortunately. If you're involved in any of those future efforts, I would also direct you to some of the meeting minutes from, I want to say last year, our Economic Revitalization Committee, former council person had shared that. And there was a lot of good interviews with a lot of stakeholders in the community, the chamber, the IMC. There might be some good data that could be helpful for you, maybe not only in this effort, but in any kind of future comprehensive efforts. So, like I said, this is good to see. We do need still more of this, but I'm encouraged to see us trending in this direction. So,
And we can expand in other industries after we're done with figuring out the impact of tourism and how you can capitalize on that more importantly, and then go to another piece. But what I'd like to do is once she has some data to share, is bring that in. I think you would find it to be very interesting.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions for Teresa? I assume that's the end of your presentation. Well, thank you very much for this update, and I think we try to do these quarterly, so if we get into after the 4th of July, maybe we can have you back. It's a little bit short in between, but I'd also like to see what's going on.
Sure.
So
I'll let Katie know.
that sounds great. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thanks for coming up.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll go into some regular business here now. Item number 8, Mrs. Frank, if you would read that, please.
An ordinance and final reading creating the position of police chaplain within the Williamsport Bureau of Police.
Is there a motion in a second? Second. Motion in a second. G. Snyder.
Council President, council members, I'm ready before you again for the second final reading of the ordinance for creating the position of the police chaplain. There's no changes since the first reading, everything remains the same. So,
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions in second reading from members of council?
Just have one question.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if this passes, then how soon do we expect to have a chaplain?
I'm hoping within the next week, we're actually doing a background check on a particular individual as well.
So this has been well.
So,
What is it? Great. But here.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing seeing none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider,
yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief Snyder, very much. We'll move to item 9. Mrs. Frank, if you would read that, please.
An ordinance and final reading, Article 1713, International Property Maintenance Code.
Is there a motion in a second?
So move. Second.
Motion in a second. I don't see Mr. Gerard. Is he online?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm here.
No, that.
So, gotcha.
Can you hear me?
Very quietly. So to tell you what, Joe, why don't you yell really loud and tell us if anything changed?
Well, first, good evening, President Yoder, members of council. Apologize for not making it there. I was running late, so I apologize. I really don't have anything to add. It went through council for the first reading. This is the second reading.
I'll take that as nothing changed. Any other comments or questions from other members of council on second reading? Hearing see none, Mrs. Franklin, motion please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thanks, Mr. Girardi. You have a good
Thank you.
evening, sir. We'll move to item 10, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution for consulting agreement between the Williamsport Bureau of Police and the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association.
Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Chief Snyder, welcome back.
Yes, sir. Yes, this is a resolution for a consulting agreement between Williamsport Borough Police and the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. This is in relation to our promotional test and the cost increase. It's an existing agreement, and the only change in the agreement is the cost that has gone up $300 from $1,500 to $1,800. I'm just looking for the approval. I'll have the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Chief Snyder. I believe this one's public safety.
It did.
Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, we're just approving the increase in price here. Nothing's changed, as the chief said. So this was passed by the council with positive recommendation.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Any other comments or questions from other members of council? Hearing see none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you again, Chief Snyder, and you have a good evening, sir. We'll move to item 11, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution for settlement and general release agreement.
Is there a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Solicitor Lubin, good evening,
Good
sir.
evening, President Yoder, members of council. This resolution is to approve a settlement agreement with the auto accident arising out of the death of Mr. Robinson years ago. I believe this is the end of the final litigation. Question approved.
Thank you, Mr. Lubin. This was not reviewed in committee, but I'll open the floor for any questions or comments from the council. Hearing see none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Norm. And we'll move to item 12, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution business privilege tax refund.
Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. I'll turn it over to Mr. Pavlak for the evening, sir.
Good evening. This was requested by Mr. Grimes for me to bring this. He was unable to get off his last meeting. This is requesting a refund for business privilege taxes that were remitted in the city from Bureaucracy, our previous tax collector. They incorrectly sent us taxes that don't belong to municipalities. So they're requesting a refund. It was recommended by the solicitor that this be the process that goes through. So this was reviewed by the treasurer's office and agreement that it was incorrectly submitted to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlak. This was also not reviewed in committee, but I'll open the floor for any questions or comments from members of council. Hearing see none, this is pretty straightforward. Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Pavlak. We'll move to item 13, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution 2021 state fire grant.
Is there a motion and a second?
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. I'll turn it over to Chief Bucks again. Good evening again, sir.
President Yoder, members of council, tonight we'd like to ask that we accept a $15,000 state fire grant that has been awarded. We simply need to fill out an electronic funds transfer payment enrollment form. This will be used to put towards the third and final payment of the R1, which is the 2018 top.
Thank you, Chief Bucks. This was also reviewed in public safety. I'll turn it over to Mr. Mackey if there's anything to add.
No, pretty straightforward. We're $15,000 grant. It's gonna take care of all the $1,004.06 in the final third payment. which kind of ties into the next item. So we also have a plan, well, chief has a plan to cover that as well, which we'll get to. Sale of the house. But yeah.
Mr. Mackey, any other comments or questions from other members of council? Here to see none, Mrs. Frankel, the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. We'll move to item 14.
Resolution authorizing sale of a motor vehicle by the city of Williamsport through publicsurplus.com.
Thank you, Mrs. Frank. Is there a motion and a second?
So.
Second. Motion and a second. Chief.
Before you is a resolution to sell a 2007 Chevy Impala. The car was bought back around 2008 by Chief Heinball, who used it. He oversaw codes and didn't really use it so much as a command vehicle. He used it more for a just to get him from point A to point B and to look around the community. The cars had some problems. Back in 2019, we had a windstorm and a tree fell on it and crushed the A-pillar. To save some money, we did not replace the A-pillar. We ended up just having them straightened out. There was a incident on Maynard Street back in 2000, I believe it was 2009, somewhere around there. And Chief Heinball had parked underneath some wires, and the wires were involved in the incident. But he was a couple blocks away, but the insulation that surrounded the wiring melted and made a lot of black marks on the car drop down. So the only way to get rid of it was to use a scouring pad and to get rid of it. There's some minor, very minor mechanical issues that have been addressed. Other than that, we'd like to put it on, initially I had recommended municipal. My understanding is we now use surplus.
Public surplus.
Public surplus.com. Now, and we have a reserve of $750. Looking at most of these Impalas in that description, they're getting between $1,000 and $1,500 for that type of vehicle with that damage. That value. So.
Thank you, Chief. I'll turn it over to Mr. Mackey from Public Safety to see if there's anything else to add.
No, I mean, again, the hope is that we make enough money on this car to make up for that last $1,000 that the grant's not going to take care of. So, correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't, there's money.
Yes.
To make up that difference.
So it's covered.
Yeah, so, but, I have to get rid of this car.
There's a little bit of nostalgia here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Any comments or questions from other members of council? I don't know if you noticed, Chief, why the switch? Is there anything into that from municipal to public surplus?
I don't know, when I wrote the resolution out, I had municipal in there, and then I spoke with Mr. Brett Kelly, and he
Okay.
said, no, we're using public surplus now. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's why it was in the resolution it changed.
So RBT's doing that for us.
Yeah, Brett's been pretty good on keeping up with that. Does the police department, does it secret, you should do municipal? Are you guys going back into it or have somebody do that?
Whatever, so.
There you go.
I got, so we brought Brett over, he talked to Scott Joel is now on public surplus. So
Okay.
we'll be doing the selling for.
Gotcha. I was gonna do the next question. I mean, I just make sure there's who's doing that come July 1, whenever they're not, you know.
Right.
They're not the city anymore, so.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other comments or questions from members of council? Hearing seeing none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. We'll move to item 15, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution authorizing submission of a letter of intent to the Governor's Center for Local Government Services for guidance in advancing the existing intergovernmental agreement with Old Lycoming Township Volunteer Fire Company.
Okay,
Is there a motion? Sorry, is there a motion in second?
So moved. Second.
Sorry.
no, I'm sorry.
No, that's not your fault. You're good.
Council members, back in 1999, the Williamsport Bureau of Fire entered into an agreement with Old Lycoming Township Volunteer Fire Company to share services. We would put 2 firefighters in their station, and they would contribute by providing a fire truck and a station, basically. Nothing in that intergovernmental cooperative agreement since 1999 has changed at all. But there are a number of points in there that we would like to address. Not just we, the Williamsport Bureau of Fire, but also Old Lycoming. We've been meeting, I think we met twice prior to the administrative change. And we reached out to Ann Weaver from the governor's office, or I'm sorry, the governor's center.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
decent.
Yep.
And she is going to be the facilitator of these meetings between the city, the fire department, the township, and the township fire department. We have a few things that we'd like to discuss and update to get a little closer to the 23 to 2022.
Thank you, Chief. I'll turn it over to Councilman Mackey again to present anything to public safety.
No, I mean, a lot of our conversations revolve around, 4, 9, 17, if you're all looking at the letter of intent that was sent out. Item 4, and Chief, feel free to jump in here. I believe the discussion there was trying to encourage more ridership from Old Lycoming Township on calls.
Correct. For their volunteers, provide along. They have, the initial thought was to have at least 3 guys on that truck at all times. We haven't really seen a whole lot of ridership over the years. In the 7 years that I was a platoon chief, we've only had 1 person while I was working that would do the ride along, and he was from Great Britain. We call him the Brit. He lived over Old Lycoming and while he was going to college at Penn College. So other than that, we've never had anyone else ride along.
And we also talked about item 9, I believe that had something to do with an accident. Was that right? Or was that item 17? Was it one of our firefighters was driving one of their trucks? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to catch it. Yeah, it was regarding the insurance, the liability and umbrella insurance coverages. Back Christmas Eve of 2020, I believe. 2019, 2020, we were involved in a vehicle accident. Engine 14-1 was involved with a vehicle, city police vehicle. Did considerable damage to the engine, and Old Lycoming's members, our leadership administration, rather than doing an investigation and speaking with the driver from the Williamsport Fire Department, they just sent Chief Tony an email saying he is no longer allowed to drive, nor will he ever be allowed to drive. So, you know, there's some issues there. that we need to address, and we need to come up with a better solution to that. I don't know if it's a personal issue or what, but something definitely needs to be addressed.
So these conversations are happening, or the hope is that they will happen.
Yes, yes, we're not, I don't, excuse me, to this point, we have not really opened up that intergovernmental agreement. But, you know, we meet every other Thursday for lunch with the members from multi-county, the chiefs. And we've talked about it off the cuff, you know, under the radar, so to speak. But, you know, they're all on board with opening that up and bringing that current, that agreement.
Yeah, and that was really across the board conversation, but again, this was originally entered into in 1999, so it's time that we definitely take a look at some of these things and get it shored up to better reflects 2022. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Are there any other comments or questions from other members of council on the side? Here you see none. Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. And Chief, thank you very much for your decision.
Thank you, too.
We'll move to item 16, Mrs. Frank.
Resolution to approve the partnership agreement between the city of Williamsport and staff AmeriCorps for 7 quarter-time AmeriCorps service members to the recreation departments.
Is there a motion and a second?
So move that.
Motion and a second. Mr. Allen, good evening.
Good evening, President Yoder, members of council. The resolution you have in front of you is a partnership between the city and Step AmeriCorps. It is the same agreement we had within the last summer program. The only difference is this year, they are waiving all of our fees, so they come free of cost to us, every single member. It is a quarter, it literally begins our summer season, which is June 13th and runs until August 19th. They are there for the duration of summer camp. They also volunteer for our street food festival, homemade days, Joe Garrison Day, as well as attempting to do this for Welcome to the World, as long as their service year starts over in their orientations in that same day. My department basically kind of runs off of solely volunteers other than myself and Public Works. So every event that we have, I partner with AmeriCorps to offset the volunteers that we need, that we don't receive from elsewhere. But as far as the position for the city, it is coming to our summer camps, helping with our summer program. They're also implementing a healthy living and healthy eating program to our kiddos, as well as teaching them how to interact with each other a little bit more outside of video games and electronics. So I'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. This was Review Finance, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Howells and cover the finance commentary.
Yeah, we did review finance. It's 7 quarter time. 7 quarter time service members. in the department. Is that no cost to the city?
Correct. Previously in 2021, every quarter-time position was $2,450. This year, they are absolutely free.
That's part of the allocating that, so that's expected possibly that's as well.
Yes,
So not something for a couple years. Right?
absolutely.
Unexpected that. With that, talk about the ratio of
Campers to as supervisor or counselor.
one adult, 6 children.
Yes,
And that's the ratio.
My main concern was what we were charged last year, and what we could potentially be charged next year. Given that we can utilize as many as we need from the airport relationship. If we had an increase in campers, we perceive that we had that increase again next year, we would have to pay that extra cost next year. One question that I forgot to ask, have we started our online payment process yet?
It is almost up and running.
Just curious.
Almost.
I love to see all these pieces starting to
Yes.
come together.
It had a couple of hiccups last week, so we're working out some bugs.
No, that's excellent. And we have, you have a hope of, is it 60 kids?
Yes. So prior to COVID, we have a camp at Memorial and Brandon, and the average number through the whole season was about 60 to 70 kids per camp.
So it's about 120 kids
Total, yes. After COVID coming back last year, we had about 30 kids total between the both kids combined. So if I can get 30 kids per camp, we're making progress.
Thank you, Mr. Whiter and Mr. Allison. Anything else to add in compliance?
We've used the merit for extensively.
Yes. I came in as AmeriCorps when Jessie Novinger was Recreation Director, and I was her assistant through AmeriCorps, and then I just stayed along for the ride. Yes. Yes, she's AmeriCorps alum as well.
Recreation Director and.
Yes.
It's worked well.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Allison. Any other comments or questions from any other members of council? Mr. Lizzie.
Thank you. No, I just also wanted to. Okay, that's not me. No, I just also wanted to note that AmeriCorps is working directly, obviously, with the food bank.
Yes.
Which is a great service, obviously, more and more families are feeling their belts tight. There's more families that need healthy food, these children are gonna be getting daily healthy meals, and so the families get these healthy food boxes. So AmeriCorps is volunteering to help the food bank with that, which I think is an absolutely great service.
So how they come in for that portion is, we have a form that every child can fill out. So kind of like how free reduced lunch is at school. Although we don't have any stipulations. You fill out the form, your kid gets a free lunch, they go home. Every camper goes home with a calendar, like how the school sends them home with a lunch calendar. They can choose to pack their lunch and bring it to camp the next day, or they can choose what's on the menu. And then families as well, we offer that family box for them. So as long as they sign up for that on that form, we give it out to the food bank. They make sure that we deliver as many boxes as those forms come in. So it's a one-stop shop. So when you pick your kid up, you can pick up a food box as well.
Thank you, Mr. Woolsey. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you,
Michaela. Move to item 17, accept for filing. We've got the public safety meeting minutes from April 26, 2022. Brandon Park Shade Tree Commission from January, February, March, and April 2022. The Williamsport Water and Sanitary Authority meeting minutes from February and March 2022. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions from members of council? Hearing seeing none, Mrs. Frank on the motion, please.
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Move to item 18, announcements. The next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be held in 2 weeks on Thursday, May 26th, right here at 7 p.m. Trade and Transit 2. Our upcoming meetings on Tuesday, May 17th at 6:30 p.m. is our HARB Board, Historic Architectural Review Board. Wednesday, May 18th, 10 a.m. Blighted Property. Thursday, May 19th at 6:30 p.m. is our Zoning Hearing Board. Tuesday, May 24th, 11:30 a.m. Public Safety, 1 p.m. Finance, 2:30 p.m. Public Works, 4 p.m. Transit Oversight Committee. Wednesday, May 25th, 11:30 a.m. is our Redevelopment Authority, and Thursday, May 26th at 7 p.m. is our City Council meeting. Are there any comments from members of council this evening? One question, Mr. Mayor Slaughter, I just wanted to check in on where we're at with the City Hall recommendation from the administration. I think you were looking at a couple final things, but I just didn't want to check in.
So we have a meeting scheduled with our solicitors, so we do a few final items.
To next meeting, are we into June?
Probably June.
Probably June.
I mean, if we get it next month, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Thank you, Mayor Slaughter. Mr. Blizzy.
If I may, also, sorry to have to make you walk back up there next year, it reminded me, I know, Mr. Sander and Mr. Ferrari are present here tonight. We have, I forget how long ago it was, that we asked Mr. Ferrari and Mr. Sander if they'd be able to kind of comprise a fully embodied study force of City Hall to encompass all of the needs that we have, both with the ADA compliance and structural integrity to fix it. And I think they told us roughly 2 months was February. Do we?
Yeah, I think they're about done with that, I believe, so, but I can check in with them. And the council.
Okay.
So I'll check with John. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, Vince, to clarify, I think we're talking about the same thing. You know, the updated costs are part of an updated recommendation of approach, whether it's staying or going from the administration. So we're talking about the same thing. So I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions for council? Any comments from the administration tonight? Mr. Livermore?
Just real quick, so in the public works, you know, obviously we're in the rush cleanup. The 20th, May 20th, we're can't do anymore. We gotta get on for better things to do. So I just want to put that out that May 20th is our deadline. We are not picking up after that. So
Sorry, I meant to ask this at the last meeting. Just to be clear, people should not be putting things out.
So if they would have read it, I don't have the paper in front of me, but April 17th was the cutoff date to put it out on the sidewalk for us to get a month through the city. That don't happen, so but we give, if it's out there, we're gonna get it, obviously, we're gonna try to. But like I said, May 20th is the cutoff that we ain't picking up on the street. We're getting a lot of people that are bringing house clean, pulling trees out, shrubs, everything. That's not acceptable. Just mainly leaves, branches, small stuff that we can handle. We got a pile we're dealing with right now that we gotta figure out, but yeah, it's small stuff. That's what we really need to do. So May 20th, that's it.
Mr. Livermore, I appreciate that. I would encourage the public to, you know, wrap it up and certainly abide by that May 20th timeline. The other thing I would reference is, I mean, we go through this every year, and it's the worst part of this job is going through the annual budget, okay? Mr. Livermore, you've started to go through that last year. I'm sure you're gonna get burned to the fire this year. The more we work together with the public to do that as efficiently and as compliant as possible, that's how we stay at budget or come in under budget. And that's how we manage specifically our property taxes. That's how we stay at our property tax level and manage it so that we're not creating much more of a burden for our taxpayers. So it's not easy even when we come in on budget or under. So any help that we can get from the public to ensure we can continue to do the service. Yep. It's a very good service. Where I grew up, I didn't have that. I think it's a great benefit that the city offers, and I think our public works department does a really good job. So I would kindly ask the public, let's work together and keep that going in a very good way. So thank you, Mr. Livermore. Any other comments from the administration tonight? Any comments from members of the public? You're welcome. We have 3 minutes. If you state your name, your address for the record. Got 3 minutes. And I would welcome you this evening.
Hello. George Ditcher from the Towing Association. We're told to be here tonight. I don't know if apparently it's not on the agenda. We're just in question of what the city's outlook on the Towing Association is right now. There's the write-up in the paper there a week. Now, concern of how the Towing Association is working. There's all this kind of question of that.
So I know there was a few things discussed on that related to the public safety meeting, I think the other week. If there was anything specific from that meeting, I can to Mr. Blizzy, Mr. Mackey. I'll be honest, I didn't read the article, so.
Just trying to keep everybody on board here and make sure we're doing the right thing, what we're supposed to be for you. Great, that's, okay, thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Thanks for being here. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Any comments from the news media, questions or clarifications or anything? Yes, no. All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.